Let me tell you, it feels pretty good to say. Welcome back to the Bench Press Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Bennett Snyder. To my right, we've got Wesley Statman Minky.
Yo, yo.
Across from me, Cameron Robertson Krob.
Long time no see.
It's good to see your face.
Good to see your face, too.
And they're going to be able to see our face. We'll get into that here in a second.
Hell yeah.
And to our left, the always faithful Timway Conway.
What up, boys?
We got to talk about our sponsors. Never Rest. They hooked us up with those portable foam rolling pads. Wes, we've talked about them before, man. Every athlete needs these.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I use one myself. Helps you feel nice and fresh, pre-workout, post-workout, however you might use it. Keep our athletes on the field, top-tier condition.
Absolutely. And then we got our other one, too, Max's Meals. We can't forget about them. Krob.
Never forget about them. I love Max. I love Max's Meals. I packed to move back down to Athens the other day. First thing out of my closet, Max's Meals t-shirt. Needed it.
It's an essential.
It is an
Absolutely
essential.
needed it.
Great charity, great cause, great people. Max's Meals.
Check them out.
Check them out. So, we're going to recap our summer a little bit, why we haven't been recording. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about general sports, fantasy football update. But let's stick with our sponsors real quick, okay? We did our first little content thing over the summer. It was the Bench Press Media Invitational. It was a little 2v2 golf outing. The teams were Wes Minky and myself, and then Cameron Robertson, Tim Conway. And if I'm correct, this came down to a playoff hole.
You remember it correctly.
We did play the 19th hole.
And Team Max's Meals, Wes Minky and myself, Wes Minky sank a game-winning putt. Is that correct?
That is correct.
That is what happened, yeah.
Then let's go ahead and do our first clap it up of this new chapter for Wesley Statman Minky. Yeah, that's big time.
Thank you.
That's big time. And you know what, Tim, how'd you feel like you played in that? You know, I know we did some press conferences before and after, but looking back on that and where you are in your golf game now, how are you feeling about it?
I thought at the time I played as well as I could have, considering, like, I thought that obviously Bennett is a better golfer than me, but I thought on that very day I played pretty up to par with him, where I needed to be to give us a chance to win.
So you're blaming on a crop.
No, but looking at it now, I'm consistently shooting probably a good 5 or 6 strokes lower than I was then per round. So I think that if we were to do this again, I think it would be maybe a different story.
Krob, let's talk about your practice round before the Invitational.
Could have been worse.
It wasn't open to the media, but
I don't
those
even
of
wanna
us
talk
who
about
were
it.
there knew that it was not the regular Krob we see out on the golf course. Do you think that practice round translated into the loss at the Invitational?
No, the practice round average iron shots were going about maybe 8 yards a swing.
Yeah.
It was bad. But we got out there on that Friday and we played, and hey, I was a bit up and down, but that's who I am as a golfer.
Very
I'm a
true.
bit up and down. I think I played, as well as I could at the time. 2 months have passed since. I think I'm a lot better as a golfer now. I've uncorked the driver. We figured it out.
Huge.
It's big time. I think if we were to go again, it's a different story for Team Max's Meals. I'll say it. We brought it to the playoff the first time, and some shaky putting throughout the round for me and Tim cost us a little bit. But hit me again, we're going to become the champs.
Wes, that sounds like, to me, that Krob's hinting at a bit of a rematch.
That's fine.
Winners
win.
I'm not worried
Losers
at all.
lose.
Winners
You know
win,
what I'm
losers lose. Primetime players come out primetime.
Exactly.
It's PTP. PTP.
Yeah.
So let's take turns talking about our summer. I know Tim and I, we've been living in Athens, and that's where we're based. You guys should know that by now. And the studio's been closed. We haven't been able to record anything. That's why we haven't been able to get anything out to you. We tried to do some Instagram stuff, but I kind of felt like the time off was needed. I think we're better when we're back at school. We're all back now. But yeah, I've been working. I think we all been working. Golf. Tim and I have been golfing a lot.
Yeah.
We took a nice little lads trip to Nashville, Tennessee.
We did.
Lads on
Yeah,
tour.
little lads weekend.
Yeah, lads weekend, so a little Cody Johnson. But I remember the last time I was in Nashville, it was boots on the ground.
Boots were on the ground.
But yeah, it was a very relaxing summer. I felt like I needed it. What about you, Tim?
Yeah, this whole summer just felt like one really long round of golf. I really was never a big golfer before the summer. I probably played golf almost every day. I can count probably on 2 hands how many days I didn't play golf. Yeah, it was a good summer. Worked a lot. Played golf. That was about it, honestly.
What about you
go.
over there, Krob?
I don't know. I felt like this summer, it feels like it was both the longest and shortest summer of all time. Like, I feel like we were just sitting around this table like a week ago, but I
Fair.
also feel like it's been months since I've been at this microphone, because that's true. I did the same. I worked a lot. I just chilled a lot. I didn't play as much golf, but I played a lot more golf than I ever have in my life before. Can't really complain.
What about you over there, Statman?
Yeah, some could say I played the most golf in my life this summer. Also, pretty much the only golf I've played in my life this summer. So it was interesting to see that. I've definitely gotten better since we started, but I mean, obviously, when you start from the ground, you can only go up.
It's fair. It's
But yeah,
very fair.
worked a lot this summer. Done. Made my bag, and now I'm back to school with ready to hit the books.
Feels good. It seems
Feels
like
good.
we all had the same summer, basically.
Yeah, it really does. We kind of did.
You know what the summer didn't have?
What's that?
It's an extreme lack of hypothetical wagering.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep
Almost
it a
not
buck.
hypothetical.
I did not hypothetically gamble at all.
I did not either.
Neither did I.
And
Neither
let me
did I.
tell you, I am itching to get back to the hypothetical.
It's almost
gambling
not
world.
hypothetical.
We're getting really close to it not being hypothetical.
In the state of Ohio.
It
Yes.
won't be hypothetical for Wes and I once it actually comes around.
Heyo.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna need
Yeah.
to wait 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
I'll be there too.
All right, I'll just go fuck myself. It's fine.
Yeah,
And
hypothetical.
there's the
first-
first F-bomb.
Yeah, let's clap it up. First stack bomb of the semester, Cameron Robertson. That's huge.
Odds were high.
Yeah.
They were very high. Speaking of odds,
Yeah.
I was gonna go into Wii golf, but I don't want to anymore, so I'm just gonna stop. I mentioned the camera earlier, so let's talk about the camera. Tim, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we actually have some real editing software now, stuff so we can get more video content out on all platforms, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, but all of our podcasts now will be available on our YouTube, Bench Press Media. They'll be coming out Tuesdays and Thursdays. We record Mondays, Wednesdays. Should be up in the morning around there on those days, and that way we can be a little bit more accessible to you guys who want to see what's going on in the studio, and so you can see how close we are to strangling each other in arguments.
That's huge. That's what we want. We're trying to
And
adapt.
everyone's
We're trying to
pretty
evolve, and we're gonna evolve as much as we can.
We're going from just a podcast with audio to becoming a multimedia.
Corporation.
Yes.
Woof.
Yeah, big words.
Those are big words.
Those were big words.
Out of
right
my
there.
pay grade.
Okay. Well, like I
Says the
said,
CFO.
let's talk about what people actually are going to find interesting. Okay, let's talk about fantasy football. Everyone's drafting right now, and some
Damn
people have
close.
already drafted. Some people have drafts this week. All of us at this table have a
Yeah.
draft
Yep.
this week.
Yep.
So let's kind of just take our turns. Talk about one player. It doesn't necessarily have to be a sleeper. Doesn't necessarily have to be a top 5 guy. But let's talk about one player that we're looking to target in every single fantasy football draft this year. Let's start with you, Wes, if you got one.
Yeah, this guy used to be a bigger sleeper. He's not as much anymore because people are starting to figure out about him. But it's Damian Pierce, rookie running back for the Texans, out of Florida last year. Had the highest broken tackle rate in college football. I was super high on him. And then as he's played throughout the preseason so far, he's blown Marlon Mack out of really contention for that RB1 spot in Houston. I like him a lot. I think he's a great player. He has really good value. He's not going very high in drafts. He's a later round guy that you can snag, and he can end up being a huge addition for any team, really.
Yeah, let's go to Krob.
My guy's not much of a sleeper. It's more of an early round target. I'm trying to leave every draft with Michael Pittman Jr. In my wide receiver core. The Colts traded for Matt Ryan. This is going to be the best quarterback that Michael Pittman's had in his short career so far by a wide margin. In preseason, in camp, in joint practices, he's been the best player on the field. I know in the Colts-Lions joint practice last week, he was absolutely dominating all over the field. They don't really have a true secondary target. If I had to guess right now, I would say a mixture of Jonathan Taylor and Alec Pierce will be second in target share behind Pittman.
You've got Paris Campbell there, too.
Well, assuming he stays on the field.
That's fair.
But he also plays in the worst division in football. You know, he's going to have 2 games against the Titans, 2 games against the Jags, 2 games against the Texans. I think he's going to have an absolutely monster season with Matt Ryan, and I think he's an absolute must-grab in most fantasy drafts,
I like
especially
that as well.
PPR.
I like that as well. Tim.
This guy, I think, is going to make you happy because he's on one of your teams. I'm going with Elijah Mitchell. Every game that he played in last year when he was healthy, dog. Like, I thought he was such a good pickup for the Niners. They have such a great O-line, and Elijah Mitchell runs in that system really well. I think, obviously, he's more of a higher-end guy that you're going to get, but I think where he's being drafted, it's the best possible value you can get. He gets lots of touches, and he converts in the red zone really well. In games he played last year, he averaged about, when he was healthy, it was like about 14.5 points per game. For a running back that was at sometimes sharing touches, that's really good.
That's fair. Are you not worried at all about the hamstring injury? It's rumored to keep him out all of the preseason. We're not worried about that?
No, because I just think hamstring, spamstring, who cares?
Yeah, that's what Michael Thomas is saying. That's what
Yeah.
Miles Sanders is saying.
Miles Sanders, poverty, though.
Hamstring, schmamstring.
Exactly.
Okay, I got two, and if you don't,
I know one of them.
if you don't mind me saying them, I'm going after Kareem Hunt in every single fantasy league I can. I'm buying that the Browns are going to move him. I haven't heard a lot about it, but even if it doesn't come before the start of the season, I'm buying that they'll move him. And we just mentioned the running back, Miles Sanders. I'm buying that the Eagles would become a complete contender if they add Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt has all the tools to be an RB1. He would still be an RB1 in this league if he didn't get in trouble with the law. The Browns gave him a second chance. We know them. They love giving second chances. We heard that. We heard that
Or
in the
27
interview.
chances.
But, yeah, Kareem Hunt, I think, will get moved. Even if he doesn't, he still has value to you. So you're really drafting him at around RB20. And if he gets traded, I think he could catapult to a top 5
I was about to say,
top 5 ceiling.
as his first 3 years in the NFL, he was like, I think, the second ranked fantasy running back across those 3 years. He was
Yeah.
insane in Kansas City.
His very first game was the Thursday night kickoff of the season
Against the
and
Patriots.
He put people on notice.
Yeah, fumbled for the first time in his football career.
Yeah, he played very well against the Pats on that Thursday night game. Then I've got another one. It's a bit of a homer pick because I did draft him, and if anyone in my league listens to this, they're going to make fun of me because I have tried to trade him a little bit, but that's only because I overvalue him a lot more than I think I should, and that player is Darnell Mooney. Let me tell you why I'm all over Darnell Mooney this year. Coming off an 1,000-yard season with 4 touchdowns, okay, with who throwing him the ball? Andy Dalton, rookie Justin Fields, get out of here. Okay, the Bears are still going to be terrible this year, really, really terrible. You never want to draft a fantasy football running back on a terrible team because they're going to be trailing. They're not going to be able to run as much. So you take the receivers. Darnell Mooney's targets, he might, if he doesn't lead the league in targets this year, he might be a top 5 player in targets this year just because the Bears are going to be losing so many games and Justin Fields is just going to have to throw the ball. Can we name any other relevant receiver on that Bears team right now that's healthy? Pringle out. N'Keal Harry out. Cole Kmet will be there.
I was going to say, I'm not looking receiver. I'd look Cole Kmet, though.
Cole Kmet will be there, but other than that,
Is it like Quintez Cephas? Is he on the Bears?
I don't know about that one.
I
let's
don't know.
just do it right now. Bears depth chart.
I would think it's not many guys, though.
No, literally, they
Yeah.
really have no.
Oh,
one.
Velus Jones.
Yeah,
Tennessee
Velus
receiver.
That's what I was
Oh,
thinking.
he's
of,
been really
Felix
good so
Jones.
far in
Okay.
preseason.
Equinemius St. Brown is there.
Packers drop
Dub.
out.
Dante Pettis is there. Daz Newsom's there. Tajay Sharp's there.
Yeah,
Like,
Tajay Sharp.
None of these guys are hanging
We
with
had a
Darnell
really nice
Mooney.
catch in
No.
preseason.
Yeah.
This is literally just like a failed wide receiver club, basically.
It's-
And they don't even have Tariq Cohen to throw to out of the backfield
No.
anymore.
I wouldn't say failed receiver core. I'd just say dudes that haven't proven anything yet.
Except Darnell Mooney.
Yeah.
Right, Mooney's the only guy. I mean,
Yeah.
even then, though, it's 1 year. How much
Oh,
can you really
yeah.
take 1 year as?
They got James
guarantee
O'Shaughnessy
you.
at backup tight end though.
That's huge.
That's
O'Shea.
huge.
It's big time
Huge.
O'Shaughnessy.
Either way, I'm all over Mooney this year. So let's do the same thing. Let's talk about one guy who we're maybe out on this year who, might be going super high on draft boards, might not be going super high on draft boards, but either way, we're out. I'll start on a guy if you guys need some time to think about it. I'll start.
Okay.
And
I can
it's-
go next.
It's going to be a hot take.
All right, let's hear it.
And I'm not necessarily out on this guy. I just think the emergence of someone else behind him is making me a little bit worried, and that guy is Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews will always have value with Lamar Jackson, okay, but I'm not sure if he's going to get the same volume he's gotten in past years because, let's be honest, Bateman's going to get his. He's going to get targets, and then we cannot just fail to talk about Isaiah Likely. Isaiah
He went
Likely
off
has been
last night.
going nuclear in the preseason. He had 8 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown in the first half. So I would say his time in the preseason is likely over. No pun intended there.
That was
But
a good one.
Thank you. And you know what? I think he's locked into that tight end 2 position, and we know the Ravens love to use as many tight ends as possible in that offense. So I would say, you know what? Maybe Mark Andrews doesn't get cut down in targets, but likely he's going to get his targets in the red zone, which will hurt Mark Andrews, and he's going to get his opportunities in the middle of the field too. So I don't think Likely's emergence is anything good for Mark Andrews.
I agree, because also, guess what? He's going to turn 30 soon. When you turn 30, it's the
No,
death.
Mark Andrews is not turning 30 soon.
If he turns 30 in the next 3 years, it's soon.
I think it's kind of soon.
Dude, no.
I feel like he came out of
26 years old.
Yeah, okay, so not soon, but he will turn 30 at some point.
He's
so.
right in the prime of his tight end career.
He's in
Yeah.
his prime, is what he meant to say.
But yeah, so I have two. My first is it's not that I don't think they're a good player because they're a great player. Actually, both of these guys are both great players. But I just don't get why Justin Jefferson is being drafted as high as he is. There's no way he should be a top 5 pick.
Wow.
I don't get that. Like Kirk Cousins, I think he's solid, but let's be honest, is solid anywhere near as good as Matthew Stafford is with Cooper Kupp? No.
We're going to come back to this, Tim. I'm glad you brought up Jefferson there.
I think he's really good. I think he's one of the best receivers in the NFL. I just don't see top 5 pick for Justin Jefferson. My other guy is Patrick Mahomes. Who's he throwing the football to? He's got Travis Kelce. That's about it. Like Marcus Valdes-Scantling was a great third option in Green Bay. Juju has had one good season in his entire career, and that was as a number 2 receiver. He's never been good as a 1 receiver on his own team. He got outshot by Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool.
Well, let's not act like Juju's going to be the number 1 receiver on this team.
I'm just saying, though.
It's Travis Kelce.
Yeah, but still, that's the only guy they have, I think. And also, this Clyde Edwards-Helaire, not great. I just don't see Mahomes having as much value as he has had in the past as a fantasy quarterback.
Let's go to Krob.
Keep me so far away from Nick Chubb, it's not even funny. I don't even want to read his name on a draft board. He's going as high as RB4 overall in some drafts, mostly being targeted really, really, really high on a draft board for a guy who's going to play on one of the worst teams in the league. Mm-hmm. Like Nick Chubb's rushing efficiency is crazy. He averages like 5 yards a carry like almost every year of his career. He knows how to get yardage. But like you said earlier, Bennett, you don't want fantasy running backs on bad teams. I'm sorry, but I don't want the fancy running back of Jacoby Brissett-led Cleveland Browns. And Deshaun Watson, yeah, he'll only be out for 11 games. He'll be back week 13. That's fine. Fantasy playoffs start not much later than that. Mm-hmm. Kareem Hunt's a guy you're targeting. I think Kareem Hunt will be involved with the Browns still just as much as he has been, even if they end up trading him at some point. They have a deep running back room in general.
Yeah, I like Kareem Hunt in the 6th or 7th more than I like Nick Chubb in the 2nd.
Yeah, and when you're potentially drafting Nick Chubb, you're around guys like Najee Harris, he's the only guy touching the ball at that backfield in Pittsburgh, it seems. Joe Mixon, who,
DeAndre Swift.
was on the Bengals. They went to Super Bowl, was playing really well down the stretch. Dalvin Cook has been falling on some boards for Minnesota. They think they'll have one of the best fantasy offenses in a long time. Like you said, DeAndre Swift. That man could have 80-plus targets this year. I just want to stay far away from Nick Chubb.
I think on the whole Nick Chubb train, I'm with it for a different reason. I'm on Nick Chubb because I think that offense revolves around him. He's going to get 40 touches almost a game. Like, they have nowhere else to go.
No way.
They have nowhere else to go with him, though.
He can't catch the football.
What happens when they're down 31-3?
Again, the offense doesn't run through Jacoby Brissett. It's going to run through Nick Chubb until Deshaun's back. So my exact point is Nick Chubb's going to touch the ball a ton throughout the entire game because he's their best player.
Yeah, but they're going to load the box against them because
Doesn't
they're
matter.
not afraid.
You just read his efficiency numbers.
Yeah, guess what? They're not loading the box
And last
against
year,
Nick Chubb
did
in the
they not
past.
load it against Baker? What did he do? Nothing. He handed the ball off. It's the same role as Jacoby Brissett this year.
Nick Chubb's going to get his touches.
Same role.
He's going to get his.
But the Browns will never just let him be an RB1. That's the reason they paid Dearness Johnson. That's the reason they drafted Jerome Ford in the 3rd or the 4th round this year.
And they
That's
still
the
have
reason they
Kareem
have
Hunt.
Demetric
I think
Felton.
that's depth. I don't think that's scarcity
I'm
of
not
his touches.
sitting here and saying that Nick Chubb's not going to be a viable fantasy running back. He's going to be. He always has been. I think he always will be
He's never
because
gonna be a
he's so
star.
efficient. He's never going to be a top 5 guy that you're starting, over basically anyone else.
You just named
And
basically.
especially this year, obviously, I have my reservations. I think he could be a solid running back, too. My thing with Nick Chubb is just his draft price does not equate to what his value is going to be this year. I think he's just too overvalued.
Yeah,
and that's why I'm staying away.
I think Nick Chubb is the biggest example of the difference between a great football player and a great fantasy football
Exactly.
player.
I agree with
Because
that.
I am in the camp that thinks Nick Chubb is a top 3 running back in the NFL.
I would love to have him as my running back if I was a general manager.
Yeah, absolutely. Wes, let's go to you. One guy you're avoiding this year.
Well, I have 2. One's kind of common. I'm avoiding Tony Pollard in all drafts because I think Zeke's getting paid so much more money for a reason. He's still going to get his touches no matter what. But that's not the guy I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Antonio Gibson. He's still going pretty high in drafts. he had fumble issues last year, and they really just turned to J.D. McKissick. They didn't give him the ball much at all, towards the stretch run at least. He didn't touch it a lot. And now he has one of the worst quarterbacks probably that he'll ever play with in Carson Wentz, who, A, can't stay healthy, and B, is a horrible decision maker with the ball. He's used to having a guy just a game manager, and he's not going to have that anymore with Taylor Heineke gone as not the starting quarterback anymore. I just think that Antonio Gibson's due for a huge decline, and I think drafting him any higher than like the third or fourth round is a terrible price.
I mentioned the Eagles. I wouldn't mind the Commanders trading for Kareem Hunt either. I don't think that'd be a terrible fit. They'd have to be out on Gibson by then.
Yeah.
But I can't figure out Gibson because Ron Rivera, he's a very old school NFL head coach. Gibson fumbled in the preseason. Rivera sent him straight to the third team. He was working on punt team. And so I don't know if that's, just a test. I doubt they have a running back more talented than Gibson on their roster.
Agree.
But it definitely is plummeting his draft stock. Like, people are definitely reading these reports, and he's dropping down boards. So I think if it gets to the point where Gibson's there in, the 6th or 7th round, you pull the trigger.
You take a flyer.
To be fair as well, they paid J.D. McKissick to make sure he stayed. He was on his way to Buffalo, and they made sure that they got that contract done. And Brian Robinson Jr., they grabbed him for a reason.
And that's something I've never understood, because the thing with Gibson was always he was coming out of college, former wide receiver, making the shift to running back. He can play all three downs. It seems like they don't want him to play all three
That's
downs.
what I was going to say. It seems like McKissick's their passing back, which is what Gibson did best in college that got him to the Commanders. Like, that doesn't really add up in my head.
I mean, it could just be the fumble issues. I've seen all kinds of reports that said it's his running style that's the fumbling issues, and if that's the case, then that's a major problem.
Well, it's like a receiver trying to run in between the tackles.
That's what I'm
difficult.
saying. But
Yeah.
McKissick clearly is their specialized third down back.
I
They
think
wanted to keep him.
I think if the fumble issues continue early on, I think by the midway point, Gibson won't even be the RB1. Like, I truly believe that.
I agree.
He might not even be the RB1 week 1 in general.
I think they're just going committee straight.
But yet he still is getting drafted as like RB2 potential, and it's like he's not that guy anymore.
Yeah, I would say 6, 7, 8. He's there.
Yeah.
Take a flyer on him. That's my opinion. Tim, you said you had a Joe Mixon take. Go to it.
I think Joe Mixon potentially could be an offensive player of the year type year. I just think Bengals run blocking, like, sure, Ted Karras, Alex Cappa, they don't have the greatest history as pass blockers, but they are some dudes in the run blocking game. And I could see Mixon getting a lot more looks, just looking better, just because what the Bengals offense is now. There's no more, Joe Burrow, young guy, whatever. Like, the Bengals offense is going to be one of the more explosive offenses in the entire league. And I think that Mixon's going to just absolutely explode because of it, because they're thinking pass. You got a guy like Joe Mixon back there with a revamped offensive line. I think he could definitely go for like 1,600 yards on the ground this year with a lot of touchdowns.
I like that you just gave an offensive player of the year prediction, because I was just about to go around and say, right now, let's give one hot take MVP. It can't be someone who's won the award before. Okay. We have to give a hot take MVP
Yeah, it's
award.
easy for me too.
It doesn't have to be like hot.
Doesn't have to be hot, but we're gonna save West for last because we already know who he's gonna
Yeah.
say.
Yep.
You almost don't even want to ask the guy.
You don't need to. I was going to give another offensive player of the
I
year.
need to think.
You need to think.
I
Let's
got
go to
mine.
Krob.
Justin Herbert.
Okay.
Justin Herbert. The weapons are there. They paid Mike Williams. Sorry, they paid Mike Williams. He's, I think, a top 20 paid receiver now in the NFL. Keenan Allen's that dude.
Certainly is.
Keenan Allen's that dude. We've seen it year in, year out. Austin Eckler. There's a reason that he's being touted as one of the best running backs in the NFL. They have improved, in the weird areas that they needed to.
Picked up Gerald Everett at tight end.
They picked up Gerald Everett at tight end. They're not going to have to rely on Jared Cook all the time. Josh Palmer, all reports are saying that he's coming on pretty strong. If that's the case, you have a pretty good three-headed wide receiver monster. Eckler, like I said earlier, is always going to get his catches out of the backfield. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they added Khalil Mack. They locked up Derwin James. I think they're going to be better at that. And they're playing in the best division in football. They're going to be forced to pass the ball a lot. They're going to be forced to score points to win games. I think the Chargers can win games. If they are to win the AFC West, I really think there's a highly possible scenario where Justin Herbert has an MVP season, throwing for near 5,000 yards, 40-plus touchdowns.
To me, he's just got to limit the turnovers,
Exactly.
and he's got to
That's
win
what
the
I
close
think so.
games.
And I
Limit
think he
turnovers,
can.
win close games.
I
My
think he
exact
can.
point was going to be he needs to win a big game before I can say he's that guy yet.
Yeah.
Because I think Joe Burrow proved it last year. He can win big games, made him into like that dude. I think Herbert's being very overrated right now because he's never won a big game. He's got the stats to prove it. He's a great player on paper, on the field. He just doesn't have that dog right now in him, and I need to see that.
Yeah, let's not forget that all the Chargers had to do is beat the Texans to go to the playoffs last year, and they got whooped. So,
Yeah.
oh well. I'll go to me. Mine, I'm going to double down. I'm going to give an MVP, and I'm going to say this team's going to win their division. And this is a hot one.
Okay.
But I think I saw some tweet about the other day is this quarterback, the greatest quarterback of all time, to never be considered a top 10 quarterback in the league. My hot take is Kirk Cousins, and I think the Minnesota Vikings win the NFC North. I love this pass-first offense with Kirk Cousins. I love that Dalvin Cook is healthy. I love that Adam Thielen's healthy. I love that Justin Jefferson's healthy. I am all over Justin Jefferson as being the wide receiver 1 this year because of that Rams offense coming into this Vikings, receiving core offense in general. I think that KJ Osborne is maybe the best wide receiver 3 in football, besides Tyler Boyd and some other guys in there too. But KJ Osborne is no slouch. They've still got Alexander Madison. And let me tell you, this division is not great. The Bears, terrible. The Lions will be better.
They're a question mark.
But I'm not afraid of the Lions secondary. If I'm afraid of any part of the Lions team, it's not their secondary. And then you look at the Packers. The Packers have one of the best secondaries in football, but you're going to be able to beat the Packers because their offense is going to be
There's
down
holes.
this year.
There's
so
holes.
I love this Vikings team. I don't know what their odds are to win the division right now. I'm all over it. I'm taking their over and everything. I am all in on the Vikings this year, and I will sprinkle some hypothetical Kirk Cousins MVP in there because I think he has a very Matthew Stafford-esque year this year.
Yeah,
fair.
I can definitely see him having a Stafford-esque year and them winning the division. I just don't know necessarily how good of a season he has to have to win MVP, but I could definitely see them winning the division.
Mm-hmm. You got yours yet, Tim?
Yeah, I have 2.
Well, that's no fair. 1.
Okay, fine. I'm going to go with Derek Carr. Got Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow. Brand new head coach with it, offensive-minded, and is not racist.
That's fair.
Or homophobic.
Yes.
That's fair.
So, and I mean, Derek Carr is. There are so many stats that I've read and seen where like last 5 years passing yards, last 5 years passing yards. Derek Carr. I don't think he's like a consensus top 10 guy. I think he kind of is one of those floaters in between. But I think that he could just explode this year with Devontae Adams. I think that those two obviously they have a great connection, played in college together. I think Derek Carr could take the next step. He would have been an MVP in 2015 had he not broken his back.
That was his leg.
I thought his was back.
No, he hurt his leg in the
Yeah, and
playoff
then
game.
But yeah, then Connor Cook had to come in and lose
Michigan
that playoff
State
game.
legend.
Yes.
Tim and I actually had this debate off air the other day. Not fantasy, but who are you picking better quarterback? You chose Derek Carr. I chose Kirk Cousins.
I'd go Derek Carr. I think there's just more upside.
I'm going Derek Carr.
Interesting. I think Kirk Cousins is more proven.
I think much better game manager, Kirk Cousins. I think guy that I would take if I want to win now, Derek Carr.
Interesting.
I think Derek Carr's had some turnover issues, but I think from a just talented quarterback standpoint, I'd go Derek Carr.
I think Kirk Cousins is like the best version of Alex Smith, where it's like game manager, but the best version possible of that.
Yeah.
Dude, Kirk Cousins has that dog in him. That is
He-
for sure.
I don't know
You
about
like
that.
that.
You like that?
You like
That
that.
is true. I forgot
That's
about
no
that.
disrespect towards him.
Yeah, no,
you like that.
I
His
prefer
own
Derek
GM
Carr.
does not even like him, actually.
You like
Well,
that.
I mean, he gave him the fattest deal ever
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
All right, Wes. Who is your long shot to win MVP?
Obviously, it's Tua. I just think with having the best offensive staff of his career, he has a new quarterbacks coach in Darrell Bevel, who was the interim head coach last year in Jacksonville.
And
Just
interim
guys,
head coach in Detroit before that.
yeah, just guys around him that have actually experienced the NFL level, know what they're doing. There's one guy in his ear, not 6 dudes at a time, trying to tell him what play to run or whatever. And I just think the additions that they've made on offense are ginormous leaps, and they finally have confidence in him as the quarterback. There's no real competition from Teddy or Skylar Thompson. Like, there's no competition for who's going to be the QB1, which I think is just a confidence thing that every other quarterback that's been drafted in recent years has had. There's never been like a question mark of who the guy is going to be when they get drafted. Tua hasn't had that yet. So I think just the vote of confidence and all the additions they've made help them a ton. And I think the Dolphins have a real chance to win the division if they sneak out a game in Buffalo. I think both games in New England, or both games against New England and both games against the Jets should be wins. So, I mean, if you go 5-1 in the division, outside of the division, not a super hard schedule. First 4 weeks are tough, but other than that, if they win a lot of games, I think he has a good chance.
I'll ask you the same thing Krob asked about my Kirk Cousins predictions. It's the stats. Is his game style going to be flashy enough to win MVP? Because everyone always just talks about his accuracy. He doesn't have the furthest downfield passing rate. Everyone knows this stuff.
Right.
Is he going to be able to change that to, maybe go on and win MVP?
So I think bringing the biggest home run hitter in all of football in Tyreek Hill is going to be a big, boost to that. I think Tyreek's going to make those downfield plays as well as the possession catches like over the middle. Like that's what Tyreek does. He's an all-around player. I think that's going to help with Jalen Waddle too. The whole thing with this offense is going to be run after the catch. So he's going to get them in space to where they can make a move and then break it for 50 yards, whatever it is. So I think those kind of plays, if that's a quarterback-driven play, someone to call that, like if he finds Tyreek over the middle, 15 yards downfield, and then Tyreek houses it, like is that a Tua play or is that a Tyreek play? It shows up the same in the stats, but like that's kind of a media-driven thing. It's whether they want to believe in that or not. I'm not really going to be the judge of it, but I think he'll have the stats to prove he could be that guy. It just is the media going to vote it that way.
It's fair. It's very, very fair. Okay, we're going to end this episode with burning questions around the sports world. Okay, you guys have no idea what I'm going to ask.
We don't.
But I've got a question.
I'm a little afraid.
I've got a question for each of you.
Okay.
And it does not need to be a long answer. It can even just be yes or no.
Okay.
Everyone got it.
Yes, I understand the rules.
I understand the rules.
Drum roll, please. Wes Minkey are the New York Yankees contenders.
No.
Cameron Robertson. Will Kevin Durant get traded before the start of the NBA season?
No.
Tim Conway. Would you ever leave the PGA for Live?
No.
And there it is, folks.
Wow,
I
3
would.
no's.
I would.
3 no's right there. So, guys, we have been sweating our shiitake mushrooms off
it
in
is
here.
hot.
I don't
Yeah.
Break the fourth wall. Holy crap.
I don't think they knew that we were going to be in here. We're drenched in sweat right
Yeah.
now. Hopefully, we can talk to them, get some AC cooking here
Almost
in the
forgot.
future. But we're back.
We'll have a
Right.
We're
good.
so back.
And
Draft on Thursday's episode.
Yeah.
I already know what I'm posting on Instagram the second this comes out. So, you know what? Tell your friends. It's chapter 3.
Tell your friends, tell your
It's chapter
family.
3. Yeah.
Tell strangers on the street. I don't even
Hey,
care.
Follow us on all social medias. Like and subscribe on the YouTube. We love you guys.
Yeah, that's really it. But before you go, I'm promising some really cool interviews this year. That's
Yes.
all.
Hell
That's
yeah.
all. And
Yeah.
go ahead,
Stay
Tim.
tuned.
Love you guys.